I'm going to put up a chart here I'll describe to you basically that shows for equity markets, S&P 500, against Europe and against EM. And you won't be surprised what it shows. The U.S. has been on a steady march up. That's the white line at the top. The blue sort of roams around about equal, but a little under equal for Europe. And then EM is way down. Can we keep going with this kind of divergence between the U.S. equity markets and the world?
We wouldn't expect to see that divergence widen a whole lot. I mean, I think one of the obvious reasons that it has is that contrary to the president's statements that the trade wars are easy to win, they're not easy to win. But there are relative winners and relative losers, and the U.S. certainly has a lot less exposure to a reduced trade environment than places like, for example, the emerging markets or Europe. But at the same time, the countervailing force that should help maybe rein in that divergence would be simply that the valuation gap has also widened, such that the S&P trades at historically wide levels relative to the global indices, relative to Europe, Japan, and certainly the emerging markets.
So, Burns, I didn't read every word in the president's tweet. In the middle of that tweet, he was saying part of the advantage here is he put tariffs on, and it really hasn't affected the end price of goods to consumers. So it doesn't really have much effect. Is that going to continue, or is that a timing issue?
That's probably largely a timing issue. It also probably has a lot to do with the fact that if you look at the tariffs that have been put in place thus far, I think the U.S. has placed tariffs on about 50 billion of Chinese imports. The discussion now is to quadruple that, and so that would obviously be a little bit more easily felt. But when one really thinks about it simplistically, a tariff by definition raises prices. They're not inflationary. They're stagflationary. They both cool down the economy as well as raising prices. And so we would expect that, given the fact that the job market here is already starting to tighten, and so we do believe that we may be on the cusp of higher inflation down the road. But raising tariffs is only going to probably accelerate that just a little bit.